Last year, Clive Barker opened the door to a new vision of horror. A vision called Hellraiser. Now, the odyssey continues, but on their turf.
Time to blend.
Hellbound. Hellraiser II.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Again.
Hey everybody! So we're back with 1988's Hellbound Hellraiser 2, and yesterday I was trying to remember if I preferred it over the original movie, and after just getting finished watching it, I'm still really not clear on that subject. It's really, it's like a continuation of Hellraiser that should have been a part of the Hellraiser movie. Because a good chunk, there's a good chunk of the first half that is flashbacks to the original film. I'm not even kidding. Before the credits roll, there is essentially a previously on Hellraiser segment of clips of the previous movie, and then you get the titles start, and I'm just like, okay, I watched Hellraiser yesterday, so, you know, it's a lot fresher in my memory than maybe the people that watched it back in 1988. But the thing is then, so it starts out as a kind of literally at the end of the previous movie. Kirsty is at some hospital, like a mental institution, and there's a homicide detective there who will very quickly be forgotten that he ever existed, and he never turns up again in the rest of the movie. And you know what, I was going to make a comment about that later, but I just wanted to get that out of the way now, because please do not get attached to him. He disappears literally within 10 minutes of the start of this movie. So, anyway, he's there and he's questioning Kirsty as to what happened at the house. And she does an total exposition... sorry, it helps if I say the right word correctly. Exposition dump concerning stuff that she had no reason to know or suspect or whatever. I mean, it's one thing that knowing that, you know, I mean, she saw Frank. She knew that Julia was dead. And she knows that her dad's dead. But beyond that, all the stuff, I mean, yeah, she met the Cenobites. But she has no reason to not understand what the deal with the box is or any of the other stuff is. And yet she does this whole exposition dump, complete with video clips from the previous movie. And I'm just sat there going, why would she know all this stuff? And what cracks me up even more is they mentioned that Steve, her boyfriend, was sent home, you know, to give her time to rest. He is not in this movie at all. So if you were looking forward to... I mean, he came over as quite loving in the previous film. Now, to be fair, considering the shit he saw at the end of Hellraiser, I don't blame him for not coming back. I'd be fucking out of there. I don't blame him for that, but I was just like, he came over as a pretty good guy, and I was just kind of sad that he didn't at least get more of a mention. But anyway, so she's at this mental institution, and this film is so cliched. It is the biggest cliche ever. So you have these two doctors. One of them just wants to help, and one of them, the controlling one, is evil. There's just, you can see the plot coming a mile away. Once it starts, once you meet well, even when you see him doing this brain surgery at the start, that he gets called away from to go see Kirsty, you're like, he's going to be evil. He's totally going to be, like, the antagonist. But anyway, so it turns out that I do not know why, can I just point out as well, Kyle, the guy, the doctor that wants to help out, he is so shit at his job. He gets told to get sleeping tablets for Kirsty so that she rests after she tells a story, and they're just like, cuckoo. He disappears. She wanders out of the room, and it turns out one of her her neighbour is, again, the cliched, traumatised, mute, mute kind of puzzle savant girl sat in the middle of the room. And the problem, other than the clichéness of this girl, I was sat through the whole movie, and all I could think was that she looked like the teenage girl version of David Duchovny. I'm not even kidding. There's a scene at the end where she hugs Kirsty, and I had flashbacks of Mulder and Scully hugging. It was really distracting. Even if you say not quite David Duchovny, she'll, at least back in 1988, I think the girl's name is like Imogen Boorman or something. She looks a lot like David Duchovny and Tia Leone's daughter West. So I was just like, okay. That was really distracting me. But yeah, no, anyway. Cliched. It turns out that so Kyle gets suspicious of his boss. Oh, no, that's it, sorry. See, honestly, that it's too late at night, and I am so mixed with feelings on this movie. So, Kyle disappears to go get these sleeping tablets. She wanders out and kind of sees her neighbour through this door. And literally, he comes back. Kyle comes back. He is changed out of his scrubs. He is in normal clothes, like his coat. He's clearly ready to leave. And he's just like, oh yeah, I got these tablets for you. And she's like, no, I don't want to take them. Now this is a mental institution where clearly, and she is under investigation as to what the fuck's gone on at the house. And she's like, no, I don't want the tablets. And he's just like, oh, she's trying to help. And he walks off. No, like, checking that she goes back in the room and goes to bed and that. I was just like, okay, that would be better, kind of, just whatever. Anyway, for reasons I'm not really clear on, Kyle gets suspicious of his boss. I mean, you're supposed to believe, because he's had, the boss has had the mattress that for some reason I still don't understand, Julia's body ended up laying on at the end of Hellraiser. So, the boss has it shipped to his, instead of it going to evidence, you know, because there is supposed to be a homicide investigation going on, it ends up at this doctor's house. So, Kyle overhears this discussion, on this phone discussion. So, he breaks into his boss's house and essentially just learns that his boss, who, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the doctor's name, I just really didn't give a shit. It turns out basically his boss is a huge Hellraiser fanboy, including concept art pasted on the walls and screen-used boxer props contained in bell jars, like 3 of them. And Kyle stands there and sees these boxes in the jars, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, and I'm just like, no, Hellraiser box in a bell jar, not Jesus Christ, and I couldn't understand why he would be absolutely like shocked and confounded by these boxing jars. I mean, boxes even, bad plural. I couldn't understand that. And I was just like, okay. So he's snooping through his boss's stuff and that. And basically, while he goes and hides and the boss turns up and kills one of his mental patients that he's had stashed away in the padded cells in the maintenance floor of the hospital. And kills this patient on the mattress so that Julia comes back. Because, you know, she was... Yes, Claire Higgins, Ashley Lawrence, Doug Bradley and the rest of the Cenobite crew, and even Sean Chapman do indeed reprise their roles. But Andrew Robinson and that, they only turn up in, like, the video clips. But, anyway, so... The Kyle goes and gets the Kirsty out of the hospital and that, and for some reason he then drags her back to the house to show her what's happened, and I'm baffled because when Frank came back in the first film, he came back, he was very skeletal. I think the budget may have been cut for this movie, because the effects are nowhere near as good, I didn't feel, as they were in the first one. But when he came back, there was a lot more, you know, very skeletal, very bare bones, very... Julia had to go get these bodies to make him build his muscle up and everything. When Julia reappears from the mattress, she's got a lot of muscle on her and everything, and she's quite really covered, except for really the skin. And yet, for whatever reason, it takes her over 5 bodies that are stashed up in the attic for her to fully come back. Although when she does come back, it's nice to see that the process of killing people brings you back with nice curly hair and full makeup. That was nice to see, you know, priorities and all that. But anyway, for whatever reason, Kirsty comes to the house with Kyle. Kyle ends up dying. That's just predictable. And this whole lead up is really boring and slow and kind of, I don't know, it just feels completely, it really feels like a retelling of the first film, if I'm honest. It was just the same process of bringing somebody back, except for fanboy boss doctor is just obsessed with the whole kind of Hellraiser puzzle box mythos. And really, I can go to a convention and chat to some people if I want to find that out. But it was nice. The second half of the film is actually where it kind of gets better. I mean, it's sad that you have to wait 45 minutes to get to that point, but for whatever reason, Julia, who gets out of the torture zone, then drags this boss doctor back in there to show him all the great pleasures, and I don't know why. I mean, at least Frank was terrified to go back there, but Julia's just like, yeah, come with me. And I don't know, it kind of reminded me a bit of Silent Hill. I know there is a Barker Street or something after Clive Barker in Silent Hill 1 or 2. But it did feel, because this torture zone is all about pain and this whole pain-pleasure thing and kind of people kind of living their own personal hells and stuff like that. It did make me think, and I know the Silent Hill games are based on horror films and they're very heavily inspired by those kind of things. But it just made me think of that quite a lot. But for a kind of confluence of events, this David Duchovny's Savant Girl, ends up in the torture zone with Kirsty, who's gone in there looking for her dad, hoping that he's there to save. And I don't know, there's this whole running about thing, and I don't know, and Frank makes an appearance, and I don't. This is why I'm confused. Not confused. I don't know how I feel about this movie. I mean, I was completely frustrated with how long it took for the previous film to cover, like, Julia killing 3 people to bring Frank back. But this movie, as well as the flashbacks, and then what cracks me up is, so the boss doctor gets killed. He then becomes, like, this bad Cenobite that comes back and basically kills all the Cenobites we know, like Pinhead and Chattering Cenobite and Butterball and that, and the female one with the vagina in her neck. But it's really so he gets killed, and it's just I don't know. I like it, but the effects is definitely shit compared to... I mean, it's all practical again, but compared to the previous movie, not as good. It's really frustrating because it feels like they've tried for more of a story. I mean, they tried to put a bit of background to Pinhead and you know, showing who he was before he became a Cenobite and that. And, you know, bless Doug Bradley, he gets to be in makeup and without makeup, so that's nice to see. But I just felt like they were trying to do more, but at the same time, it just wasn't gelling together. And I think that's what was frustrating about it, because they got more action filled at the end, and it felt like what should have been the proper end to the first movie, if that makes sense. I mean, today, you think like 2.5 hour movies? These 2 movies could have easily been spliced together today and just made into one long film. Because enough happens. This is only like an hour and 35 minutes long. Enough happens in that time. Except, oh, that's my point. When the Doctor dies, he then has flashbacks to stuff that happened literally only 20 minutes ago in the movie. I've been sat watching it. I don't need to see those clips again. I get that it's for effect of like his life flashing before his eyes or whatever, but they could have put some filter or some effect on those clips to make them not look like the bloody same clips from 20 minutes ago. And that's the problem. It does feel like a previously owned Hellraiser movie, and that's not necessarily good. So if you're gonna watch it, I recommend that you see the first film and then leave a gap before you see this film. I think you do need that kind of break before you get to the to it, because you need that kind of you know, like when they have the previously on bit, it's nice to jog your memory. But other than that, I only give Hellbound Hellraiser 2 a 6 out of 10. I mean, they had the whole bloody homeless guy at the end again, and that pissed me off. So kind of doing the bloody salesman from Resident Evil 4 going, "What can I sell you, mister?" And it kind of just gets to me. But yeah, I'd only give it a 6 out of 10. It's okay, and I guess it's just above average, but maybe 5.5. Let's say that, because it's just slightly above average, but it's not on the good. It's not on the very good side of the scale. So I guess if you're after a cheesy 80s horror flick and something to pass the time and just some needless gore, then I guess check out Hellbound Hellraiser 2. And we'll be back tomorrow with Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. See you then.